So, good morning, good evening, good night, everyone who's listening to this. We are an increasingly consumeristic society. We consume everything. Everything is about selling. When you go into a mall, what you find is different products. And now there are so many products that you really get confused. You don't know what to buy, and then you end up making a wrong choice, and then you repent. The same thing is quite percolating even in our science of homeopathy, where we have so many different approaches happening in homeopathy, so many different kinds of homeopathy, and each different kind of homeopathy actually is there in this big mall of homeopathy, and each one is really marketing, selling their product of homeopathy, their way of homeopathy, and each one of them tells you that this is the only and the best method to solve the cases. So, what really happens is that when you get out into this field, you see that you have so many ways of doing homeopathy. And the natural question is, what is the right way? So, and whom should I follow? What method should I follow? Which is the right method? Eventually, leading to confusion, and each a novice would really flock to different places and keep trying different kinds of, it's like trying different clothes. Which fits you the most is what you're going to take it up finally. But with so many years of practice and so many years of studying with really good homeopaths, and studying in fact a lot of these methods that are available on the shelf, I can tell you one thing, that there is no method that is really going to fit for all. What is going to be good in one method, the same method is going to have its inherent deficiency. So the choice then is, you have to learn all the methods, which is a very difficult and a daunting task for a novice, for a new emerging homeopath. And then the question still remains, what is the right kind of homeopathy? So I was wondering what we can do about this question. And I find that ultimately all this homeopathy, whatever is the new contemporary homeopathy, not that it is wrong or it is bad or I have to say something about it, but what is happening for a new practitioner, and even to a lot of other practitioners, middle level practitioners, is the very fundamental on which this very new contemporary homeopathy is based on is completely forgotten. And that is Hanuman's teachings, Bonninghausen's teachings. The two masters were very closely related, and Hanuman, of course, was the one who really discovered the science in a very, very large way. So, my suggestion and my thought, and the need to do this talk, is to bring Hanuman to every one of us. Again, for the senior people to re look at what Hanuman was talking, and for the much junior and the newer homeopaths to introduce you to Hanuman's teaching. So, why should we read Hanuman in the first place? In fact, I'm quite surprised that most students don't even know that Hanuman has written books. And Hanuman has written what is called as the Organon of medicine, which, in my understanding, is the most fundamental conceptual as well as an instruction manual of homeopathy. And we have really missed this boat. And unfortunately, the newer homeopathic approaches hardly ever make a reference to Hanuman. It is as if that we have all outgrown what he has to say. And my personal experiences, few months back, I started reading the whole Organon again. And I took around 2 months to finish this book and to re-look into what he was saying. This must be maybe after 20 years of that I made this attempt. And I discovered a lot of things that were so-called new for me. New why? Because I had overlooked what instructions he had already given. And what I did was to inculcate these instructions into my practice, and I see a lot of positive stability, change for the better in my practice, and I wish to bring this experience to all of you. So why should we read Hanuman in the first place? What is so special about Hanuman? The language already is very difficult to understand. So why should we read this man? For few reasons that I understand, that Hanuman was one of the finest observers we have till date. His observations have been unmatched precision till today. If you really look closely, the most commonest prescriptions and the best of the results that have come to a homeopath's clinic are from those remedies that he has proved. So accurate were his proving that even for 200 years, the uh, the data really validates itself time and again. So one is his ability to observe very precisely, which is very unmatched even with till date. This is one reason why we must read what he uh, says. The second reason why Hanuman, because he is the only homeopath I can say who really did not have any theoretical baggage support for any kind of a prejudice to be introduced in his work. He was nearly blank, like a clean slate, and whatever he has concluded is purely by experimenting, pure clinical and experimental observations. And then the conclusion or a particular idea has been thought and revised because of for this. So the whole idea that has been evolving has in Hanuman's mind, which runs through for Organon number 1, Organon edition 1 to the 6th edition today, has been through experimental deduction. None of it has been theoretical. And whatever observations he has made, he has put them down in the Organon and in his various writings. And therefore, it becomes extremely reliable, unlike a lot of contemporary work which already has a theory. And then this theory is kind of confirmed, or at least only the confirmed cases are always shown in the seminars, in the workshops. Nobody really talks about what is the limitation of whatever theory they have made. And this is one reason why I have a little reservation really jumping, especially for the newer homeopaths, to really jump into the contemporary homeopathy. Because we are selling, and the problem with selling is nobody talks about what is the limitation. A science, a method always has limitations, and they have to be spoken about if they have to be taught. This is my idea, this is my understanding. So then where to read Hanuman from? So I would suggest that it is the Organon of medicine from where you should read Hanuman. and you read his writings purely. So, this is the reason why you should study Organon. The Organon is like an operating manual. If you have purchased a new gadget and you really don't know how to operate it, you will have to study its instruction manual. If you really don't study the instruction manual, you really are not going to use the gadget properly. The same thing is here. There is a new science with an operating manual and an instructional manual for every situation, every setting that one clinician will face. It's a complete 360-degree operating manual. So if you really bypass the Organon, you really are not taking down how to operate this science of homeopathy. So you can imagine what you are going to really face when you have not taken the instruction manual well, when you have not studied the instruction manual well. It's always a good idea that you take the instructions that Hanuman has said on the baseline. In my experience, 7 to 8 cases on 10, 70 to 80% will fall by what his observations are. The remaining 20% at a very junior level can just forget about it. And as you get senior, we can refer to more contemporary practices, more different newer ways of practicing homeopathy can be applied to those really 20% of the cases. But 70%, 80% of the cases can be easily worked through fairly effectively by just going by the instructions written down in the Organon. Every single clinical situation that one will face is already existing in the Organon of medicine. The Organon is not any conceptual, philosophical, metaphysical book. It is set of clear observations, set of clear experimentations and clear instructions that the master has left for us through his experience, through his pure experience. The next question I would address is how to read this book, The Organon. There are two ways that one can go about. One way is to start reading exactly the way the book is written, page by page, aphorism by aphorism, 1, 2, 3, 4, right up to the end. This is one way that one can do it. If you are a little experienced and if you are really working into your clinic, then a better way to really study the Organon is a single topic of the Organon is clustered into a group of aphorisms by Hanuman himself, written by Hanuman, and often the same idea gets repeated in another aphorisms which are quite far apart. So one will need to actually bring those aphorisms also together, make a cluster of these aphorisms as according to the topic. The topic can be something like the totality of symptoms, something like the disease classification and acute disease, something like miasms, something like remedy reaction and the second prescriptions, or something like mental diseases, something like iatrogenic diseases. So all aphorisms normally are clustered. There's a cluster of aphorisms dealing with the same issue. Often the aphorisms can be scattered. So one will need to bring it back to one place and get it down. So that is a more practical way of reading it, but doing it exactly aphorism wise, starting from the introduction, is a good idea for a young budding homeopath to do it. So this is what how I suggest, and I'm going to put this thought that every week I would come down with a talk of maybe 10 minutes where we talk of one topic and what the Organon instructions are as regards that topic. I hope that is going to be interesting. The next is uh, when do you read the Organon? At every clinical setting, you read. Whenever you're faced with a certain difficulty, go back to the Organon, see what instructions Hanuman is putting down, and you will be able to apply those instructions. And very often, you will be able to crack the case or bypass that difficult situation. The other question is reading Organon going to or by Hanuman going to suffice? Well, yes, if you can understand the depth of it, and I believe the depth just gets revealed to you as you get more and more experience in practice. A good idea would be to read the Organon topics from Hanuman and then see how the other master homeopaths have elaborated upon this. Like, I would give some example like Kent's lectures on philosophy, Roberts and Bonihausen's lesser writings, and Stuart Close. These are four books that form a lot of basis uh, where we should read and supplement what Hanuman has said, and to also to clarify his language. That is going to be very, very important requirement that we need to do. So this is for today why we should really go back to the master and see, for the seniors to see what we have overlooked, and for the junior colleagues of mine to see what really he instructs, and just follow what he says for a while before you come across a situation where you really can't get through that in spite of his instructions. Yes, then we need to do some new modern thinking. So I hope you will enjoy the subsequent talks. Then on, every week I plan to put one talk of 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and we type one topic of the Organon, and I will go through the aphorism, all the possible aphorisms in the Organon text, and see if I can explain through my experience and also through the other books what I have read through. I hope you'll enjoy this. So, see you soon. Goodbye, and wait till the next Sunday.